All right. This is the update video that I was talking about. And this I just want to kind of point this out. Uh, Regarding Hurricane Milton, or Major Hurricane Milton, should I say? Last night it had briefly weakened down to a Category 4, which is not any better, but it won't make impacts on this. Anyway, I just want to quickly show that it's currently a category. It re-strengthened back to a Category 5. I mean, but you can see in this kind of satellite frame of how much of a Category 5 it really is. You can really see that oval or that disc shape that goes around the entire hurricane, right? That from there you can see that very predominant eye always moving, keeping very tight and circular, kind of very symmetric, and it's not very shifty, and that's the key sign of a Category 5. However, it won't make landfall as Category 5, and I'm going to get into all the updates and all that good stuff here actually right now, so let's get right into it. Okay, so this was the latest map update from the National Hurricane Center, the latest update, and you can see we know where it's going to hit. Well, we know the general location of where it's going to hit. However, like I said last video, in between this white box, the cone of uncertainty, in between here, and it could go anywhere in between that cone. For instance, it could hit further south down here near Fort Myer and Cape Coral, or for instance, it could hit further up towards Tampa and the Big Bend region, which is still recovering from Major Hurricane Helene. But this is just to show kind of an update. It is expected to make a landfall as a major Category 3, high end major Category 3, or a low end Category 4 hurricane late, either extremely late Wednesday night or very early Thursday morning. For any areas in the Tampa down to the Fort Myers area, there's we could see landfall depending on if it goes further south or further to the north. After that, it's going to go across the state of Florida as a it's gonna stay a hurricane until it gets back out to the ocean, which it'll from there it'll become an extra tropical cyclone and just not really do much from there. And hopefully we can get a break from hurricanes and things of this nature, especially ones this strong. Let's get in. I do want to get into the wind shear map to show you why it's not going to be like a Category 4 or 5 on landfall. Because you may be saying to yourself, "Oh, it's a Cat 5 now. What's going to change?" Let me show you on the wind shear map. So let's go over to that right now. All right, so this is the wind shear map here, and as you see, there's a lot of wind shear that's already in place of the hurricane. Mind you, it's still down here in the Gulf where we can't see that wind shear, so I'm not gonna even attempt to talk about the wind shear down there. Anyway, we have a lot of wind shear in place of where this hurricane's heading. Now, it may not look super strong right now. That's because it's currently intended to substantially increase within the next 12 to 24-hour time frame. And that's right when the hurricane's gonna start making its way up towards the Florida coast. Like I said last video, hurricanes and shear do not mix. In tornadoes, shear they go greatly. That's how we get tornado outbreaks is with shear and hurricanes, or shear and severe weather outbreaks. That's how we get tornadoes. But with shear and hurricanes, the shear tends to just destroy it. The wind shear just throws dry air at it and it just destroys the hurricane. But because this hurricane is so strong and it is so like just spinning, it has such a low millibar pressure, it will rapidly weaken it down to a major Category 3, extremely high end Category 3 hurricane upon landfall, maybe even a Category 4. It won't be a high, mid to high end Cat 4 or even Cat 5. It won't be that on landfall. The most likely scenario, it will be a high end Category 3 on landfall. But obviously, where is it going to go? Still, if well, we're not if it wobbles, but we know the general location of where it's going to head. But let me show you because you can see as the hurricane spins ahead, you can just barely see it right here. See, we haven't look at all this shear right up here in front of it. As the hurricane's moving right into that rich shear environment, which is ultimately going to choke off a lot of the hurricanes, like moisture and that just spin. Yes, there still will be warm waters, But I mean, there's just going to be a lot of wind shear that's just preventing this storm from really compacting and getting like really strong. Now, Helene didn't have any. Helene was different. It was moving very fast. It had no wind shear. That one was just one of the storms that you see like, every couple years or so. We're just a really bad storm every couple years. This storm shouldn't be as intense. It will still bring horrific, or not horrific, but like devastating storm surge, devastating flooding, and devastating winds. 110 plus mile an hour winds are not something to mess around with. That is still extremely, extremely bad. It's horrible. But because we're not, it's just better than seeing 185 sustained, which would never happen. But it's just some food for thought. But like I said, we have a ton of shear in place as the hurricane moves up into it. Ultimately, it's going to weaken it, but how much? Like a three, it's going to make landfalls at three, a high end three or low end four. Speaking of storm surge, I'm going to show you the storm surge map right now. All right, so this is the peak storm surge map. The numbers since I last showed this haven't really updated. Although some numbers on the back coast here up into the Carolinas that you guys will see surge because after it goes across, it's gonna pull in some winds, which is gonna ultimately gonna push the water. You guys will see storm surge, but not a lot up here by North and South Carolina. The numbers, at least for where the landfall is expected, they haven't changed too much. A few changes have been, or actually, I don't think any changes, if not a few, have been made. But but the one kind of, I guess, biggest change was that there's now 2 to 4 and 3 to 5 feet instead of 2 to 5 like there was last video. But we're still expecting 10 to 15 feet of catastrophic storm surge upon landfall in the Tampa Bay Charlotte Harbor region. We're expecting at 8 to 12 feet down, just a little bit further south of that area, where near Bonita Beach. That's, you guys can see 8 to 12 feet, and then anywhere south than that, you guys will see anywhere from 3 to 8 feet. So like 1 to 8 feet. You guys can see a wide variety down there, especially in the Keys. You guys aren't supposed to get that much. And then up in the Big Bend region, closest to the Tampa Bay region is going to get more. So you can see like 5 to 10 feet here, from near uh, Yankeetown, and then a general 1 to 3 feet for the Indian Pass, and just 3 to 5 feet in between there. So that's, I mean, not many changes have been made to that. It is still going to be catastrophic to see this unfold. However, there have been some changes about the rain forecast. So I'm going to show you that right now. So in last video I had said that, we could see, like anywhere from, like, I think I said like 6 to 12 in more isolated spots. I I was off. They were actually being conservative, and what I mean is they were dumbing down the numbers by a lot. As you saw, there was just a bunch of orange across the Tampa Bay Orlando region. That has been changed. We are now expecting in the Tampa Bay Orlando region 12, anywhere from 12 to 16 inches. 16 would be in those in isolated areas that see a little bit more rain than let's say a wide area. But the consensus is the Tampa Bay or in Orlando can see anywhere from 12 to 16 inches of rain, which is a lot. It's about a foot of water on top of the storm surge if you're near the coast. So if you have evacuation orders, like I said, I listen to your officials, listen to what they say. I would urge a lot of people to get out, or if you're near the coastline, at least get out. Just go. A lot of people have been going further south. A lot of people have been going further north. I would go there. As you can see, Miami's not expecting flooding rains at all. Jacksonville, you guys are an inch to maybe 4 if you're lucky. If it kind of like when it kind of goes out to sea, if it brings more heavier bands up to the north. But you're not going to see as much as Tampa Bay and Orlando, where you guys could see. potentially catastrophic flooding at this time. Like I said, 12 to 16 inches. I think these numbers could be still a little bit conservative, but I think that this is a better nailed down forecast for all the flooding inland wise. But I'm gonna show the path on the future radar, and then I'm gonna show the intensity graph. So let's get right into that. All right, so this is the simulated radar. This is, I think, maybe a few hours ahead. You can still see it's still going to be around category 4 to 5 status. However, you see the further we go, you can kind of see how much bigger it gets. That's because of the wind shear. And you can also see on the back, you can see on this front side, there's a lot of rain and precipitation. That's why there's that concerning flooding potential for much of the Tampa Bay region right over here. But then from there, you can cut the backside. You can see there's some dry air circulating in. That's because of that wind shear. That's going to really eat it alive. It's still going to be wrapped up. It's still going to be a very strong category 3 to 4 hurricane, like I've been talking about all video. But I mean, you can see it right here. We even got some dry air penetrating the the innards of it. You can kind of see on landfall that eye becomes very distinct. It's still there, but at least on this future radar, you can't really see it. But we're still going to see, immense wind and just damage all throughout here, all throughout the Tampa Bay, all across Florida, really. There is also a tornado potential or a tornado outbreak potential all throughout, this near down further south where the eye isn't going to go, like down here and a little bit further up to the north. There is a tornado potential, but which actually could become another major concerning threat. So just because we have a bunch of storm surge, extreme winds, flooding, all that, we still have the concern for some tornadoes too. There's currently a slight risk. I didn't think to really speak about it, but there is still a chance to see a possible mini outbreak of tornadoes unfold down here. So I definitely stay weather aware tomorrow, even if it doesn't seem like much is happening. If you're not in the direct path, you guys, when the band, those kind of these outer bigger bands like these right here that could be bringing potential supercells, definitely pay attention when you start to see those come across your area. But from there, you can see why I kind of said that Jacksonville area could get a little bit more. You can see there's a lot of heavier rain that's going to kind of train over the area as it begins to move back out to the ocean. That's why right now you're only about an inch. But you guys could see you guys could see probably a little bit more isolated areas. Could see 4, and from there it doesn't form back out into anything. So I'll show it again here at a slower frame as it moves. You can see landfall, not much of an eye. Well, there's a little bit of an eye. You can kind of see right here, a little bit wrapped up. There's a lot of dry air on that backside, preventing that eye formation from that shear. And then it swiftly moves out. So I'm gonna show the intensity graph, and then yeah. So let's get to that. Okay, so this is the latest 18Z intensity graph. As you can see, it's currently at a category 5. It won't say that on landfall. Let me reiterate that it won't be a category 5 on landfall. If we take a look at the forecast hour down here, we're about 24 hours out or so. And if we kind of compare that to where the plots are, you can see a lot are saying category 3. I think that this push up here is a little bit excessive. I think we're going to see it right up in this region, closer to landfall. Again, we're only expecting a category 3, a very high end category 3, maybe a low end cat 4, but um, yeah, it definitely won't be a category 5. And then just when you see all these down here, this is after it goes back out to sea. It's not going to form into anything. It's going to die off. And then if you're wondering, like, oh, well, why do these models go all the way out here? Well, it's because, I mean, they're wrong. This is saying this would be either 4 or 5 on landfall, which is just simply, it's not going to happen. Too much wind shear, too much everything. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to show like a satellite view of it in the light, not with the infrared, just like the crisp color of it before I wrap up the final message and everything, and what the next future video is gonna be about mostly. So let's get right into that for the finale. And this is the satellite of what I could salvage before, night hit. As you can see, this is running it ahead. You can kind of see it night, but this is just a late kind of overview of the whole storm. You can see the main hurricane parts much smaller. If you remember, Helene had a bunch of clouds sprung all the way up the east coast, and it was just bringing a ton of bands to Florida early when it was still, when it was like down here, it was still super far away. It was bringing some bands from the Keys down there. This storm is much more compact. However, this wind field, when it gets closer, will expand because of that wind shear. It's going to tear the storm apart, ultimately making it bigger. So that wind field is going to explode. So a lot of the area is going to see tropical storm force, and only the areas that are in that cone of uncertainty is going to see hurricane force, or at least extreme hurricane force winds. But yeah. So that this is it. So the freeze frame of it. If you could, I just think it's very fascinating to see that really predominant eye right there. Just kind of that small, big eye and in a giant, potentially historic storm. It got down to like 887, no, like 897 millibars, which it was. And right now it's about 10 millibars off from the strongest, which is Rita, or at least in the Gulf for around the strongest hurricane in the Gulf is Rita, from which is like which was like I think it was like 87. Last night it was like an 897, so it got close. I don't know the exact, but it was pretty close. I know that. But if it could become the strongest that we've seen in a while. But the good news that we can see out of this is it won't be that strong on landfall. It will still bring major catastrophic impacts all across Florida, but the intensity wise, the sustained winds will be much less upon landfall. So, yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. The next video will probably be about a recap and then a mainland United States forecast, and then hopefully we can start talking about like winter stuff. So, otherwise, I will see you guys then. Goodbye.